Hi, I'm Devin, and this is Chef Tony. We're over at St. Vincent's Dining Hall, just getting ready to show you guys how we make food from the food that you get at the food pantry. We've got a box here in a bag that came from the pantry. We don't know what's in there yet, but we're going to figure it out, and we're going to show you what to make.
Okay, first we have chicken legs and turkey grounded. Shredded cheddar cheese, butter, limes, milk, bread, lentils, 2 packs of chicken breast white meat, cucumbers, mushrooms and tomatoes, Spam, prepared salad already made, peanuts, spaghetti noodles, spaghetti sauce, beef stew, vegetable beans, green beans, black beans, and diced tomatoes. Bag of Cheetos and Cheetos rice mix. And that's it.
All right, so we've grabbed a couple of extra ingredients because we have a few things missing from our box, but these are all nice, affordable things you can get in small portions. This is black pepper. I've got granulated garlic and onion powder here. Of course, some salt, some oil, and some parsley. I've added these things just to kind of elevate these dishes a little bit. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to start making, let's go with the drumsticks first. All right, first things first, we cut our drumsticks. We're going to take these bad boys, dump them in a bowl. We don't really have to do this part, but what we're doing is we're going to be covering them with oil and spices, and it just makes it a little easier this way. You use about a 1/4 cup of oil there. And put some salt. Oh, we can open it. There you go. I don't really measure. It's kind of just to your eye. You know what you like. And it's not very hard to figure that kind of stuff out. I got a little parsley on there. Smidge of black pepper. I'm going to do granulated garlic. And a little bit of onion. After we've got all of our spices and our oil in there, we're going to go ahead and mix them up. Just want to get a good spread on there. And I'm going to put that lime juice right onto that chicken there. Looking good. Now we're going to take our oil. We'll put a little bit of oil in the pan here. I'm using a paper towel. You don't have to. You can use your hand or whatever you want. Or if you've got pan spray, you can use that. This is just the easy way to do it. And now we're going to lay our drumsticks right on the pan. So this is a garlic lime drumstick that we're working on here. We're going to go ahead and bake these at 350 degrees for around 25 to 30 minutes. At this point, I've got this really nice oven here. That's what I'm going to use. You can use whatever you like. Baking is the preferred method, but if you don't have the ability to bake, you can always grill them or fry them or anything along those lines. Now, give me just 1 second to go wash my. All right, we're going to go ahead and pop our chicken in the oven here. We're going to give that a minute to bake. While we do that, we're going to move on to our next piece of our next dish. I think we're going to go with, let's go with spaghetti. All right, now we're going to start our water, as you do with any pasta. We'll go ahead and get that going. We're going to put it on high heat for right now until we get to the point where we're going to put our spaghetti in there. You don't really need to open the box of spaghetti right now, but what we do need to do is go ahead and prep up our mushrooms and tomatoes. So mushrooms are pretty easy to work with. You don't really need to do a whole lot to them. The thinner you cut them, the quicker they cook. I tend to save my stalks when I take them off the mushrooms. We're going to use, let's say, 5 mushrooms in this dish. All right, we've got our 5 mushrooms here. We're going to go ahead and slice them up. For this dish, I'm actually going to go for a more of a chopped kind of style here. I'm just going to get them into more manageable pieces so I can chop them into smaller pieces. And of course, as I said, you want to save your stalks and use those. And they've got good nutritional value. They taste the same as the rest of the mushroom. These mushrooms came pre-washed. If you happen to get some that are not washed already, please make sure to wash them. All right, now we've got our mushrooms cut down into a manageable size, and we're gonna go ahead and just give them a nice chop. All right, that seems pretty good there, rough chop. We're just gonna move those off to the side, and now we're gonna grab our tomatoes. These are organic tomatoes. They come right on the vine, which is really nice. It lets you know that they're nice and fresh. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the trash away in the can there. I think we're gonna use 2 tomatoes for this recipe. Go ahead and put this one back over here. Now with tomatoes, a lot of people don't like this green part right here, so we're just gonna cut it off. But we wanna reduce the amount of waste we have. We wanna try and save as much of the tomato as possible. So we're gonna just cut off these nice pieces here, save those. Same thing with this one. Cut off the nice pieces, throw away the green part. The green part is edible, it just some people just don't like it. So, you know, and it's really completely up to you. Now we're gonna go ahead and cut our tomatoes in half. This just makes it so it's easier to cut them when they get them down to this size. With these tomatoes, we're not actually gonna go the same kind of cut we did with the mushrooms. We're gonna do just a slice. These tomatoes, when we cook them, are gonna break down. And so we don't really need to worry about the type of slice or if it's thick or thin. They're just gonna kind of melt into our dish there. All right. Oh, we've got our tomatoes sliced up. Now for this dish, I think we're gonna use this ground turkey. Everybody likes meat in their spaghetti sauce, so I think that's what we're gonna do here. And of course, we've chosen to use our diced tomatoes in the can and our condensed vegetable soup. All right, guys, I'm back. I couldn't find a can opener, so I just used our industrial sized one in the kitchen here. All right, so what we're gonna start off with is we're gonna actually put a little bit of oil in our cooking pot. Just a smidge in there. This is because we're gonna go ahead and fry our mushrooms and our sliced tomatoes in here. You can use that paper towel trick again if you want. I like it. It makes it nice and simple and clean. You don't have to wiggle your pot all over the place. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our pot on the heat, just heating up. Go ahead and open our can of veggie stock here. And we're gonna move our mayonnaise out of the way because we're not gonna use that for a minute. All right, so at this point, we're gonna clean up our station a little while we're waiting for that pot to heat up. It's always handy to have a towel on hand, or again, paper towels. Kind of just those types of things you need to make sure that you're not making a big mess while you're cooking because nobody likes doing dishes. All right, now that our pan is probably nice and hot, yep, you can see it's hot because the oil starts to move around. So we're gonna take our mushrooms, we're just gonna throw them right in there. Hear that sizzle? That means we're doing it right. So our mushrooms are gonna take a little longer to cook than the rest is. I'm gonna turn that heat right back down real quick. And I'm going to ask my good friend Robert to hand me a spoon. All right, now our mushrooms are sauteing here. One thing you're gonna wanna be really careful about is when you have these mushrooms, you gotta keep them moving. Especially if you're starting with a higher heat with that oil like that, you just don't wanna burn them to the bottom of the pan. You can see right now that our mushrooms are already almost cooked down. So we're gonna just let them go for just a teensy bit longer and get our tomatoes ready. Okay, and we're back. So at this point, now we're looking at using our ground turkey. I'm just gonna use one of these guys today. We're gonna go ahead and open that guy up, and you see our tomatoes and mushrooms are nice and stewed together here. We've got that nice consistency with our spices and stuff. And we're gonna just take our turkey, we're gonna pop it right in there. Yeah, there we go. Now you want to make sure that turkey breaks up because it likes to stick together and make lumps. So I don't suggest doing this with your hands. You probably want to take your turkey out and kind of play with it before you put it in here. But I've got pretty calloused hands, so I'm sure I'll be fine. And you'll notice our cutting board has changed too. Cross-contamination is a real problem, so we just want to make sure that that's not happening. At this point, we're going to go ahead and just make sure our turkey's cooking up nice. Oh yeah, that looks perfect. So you see our raw turkey in here with our tomatoes and our mushrooms, all broken up nice and neat. We're actually gonna go ahead and at this point, we're gonna go ahead and add our diced tomatoes and our veggie stock. Stir that around a little bit and bring it up to a boil. It's going to need to boil 5 to 10 minutes in order to get that turkey cooked. Maybe a little bit longer depending on how high you have the heat. I'm cooking at a pretty decent heat right now. Actually, we've got it a little low. We can go a little higher. Raise that up a little bit. And we're just going to let that stew. We're going to leave our spoon in there. All right. At this point, I think it's time for us to make a salad. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our cucumbers, our last 2 tomatoes, some mushrooms, probably just 2 of them for this one. We got a bag of chicken here, and of course our pre-made salad. All right, so we cut our ends off of our cucumbers. We don't want those. They're not really good for anything. Can't really salvage much off of those guys. And then it depends on what way you want your cucumber sliced. I prefer to have mine in half moons. So we're going to take our little stickers off here. They'll come off, which they will. I'm going to cut the cucumber in half, stick it on its end. Using your hands on the sides of the cucumber, send the knife right down the middle. All right, now we've got our cucumbers in quarters. And we're going to go ahead and cut those into small slices. And we'll just do one at a time for the sake of convenience here. All right, we're going to go ahead and get our mushrooms now. Mushrooms are going to be pretty similar to how we did them before. Oops, I almost lost that guy. He's trying to run away. Get our mushrooms sliced up into nice pieces. Toss those right in there. Again with this one. All right into there. We've got 2 leftover cucumber pieces and some mushroom stems. We'll come back to those a little bit later. Again with the tomatoes, we want to try and save as much as possible. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to take these pieces of these tomatoes that we're saving, and we're going to throw them just right into our spaghetti sauce that we got cooking on the oven. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure our chicken is ready to go here. Just use our knife to open it because we're lazy. All right. Just talking about sharp knives. I can't even get my bag open. All right. So looking at the chicken here, we can see it's kind of like a tuna consistency. We're going to go ahead and just put that right in there. All right, we've got our nice peanuts here. These are roasted, unsalted peanuts. Open those up. We're going to toss just a few of them into our garden salad here. That's going to give us a nice crunch in our garden salad. And one thing, since our peanuts are a little unsalted, we're just going to add just a tiny amount of salt to our salad here. Just makes it a little bit more palatable and a little bit more fun to eat. We got our water boiling here. We got it boiling for a couple minutes, so it's a little bit low, but that's okay. We can work with that. Now, depending on how many people you feed, or are feeding, you're going to need a different amount of pasta. I'm only going to do about this much. This is going to be enough pasta for probably 2 or 3 people. I'm going to let that sit in there. Now, one thing with pasta is you want to make sure that as soon as you put it in the water, you get maybe a couple minutes to get it wet, and then move it around. Pasta has a tendency to get stuck to itself, and we don't want that. So we're just going to use the same spoon we use for the sauce. We know our turkey's cooked by now, so there's no reason to be afraid of that. So got those noodles moving around so they don't stick together. We're going to put our spoon back into our pot sauce here. Speaking of, let's take a look at it. So we've got a nice red sauce going on here with our turkeys all cooked up. They're looking really good, smelling really good. So we're just going to continue to let that simmer for a little while. We're going to cook off just a little bit of the moisture. It's going to take just a little while. All right, next up, we're going to get ready to make some baked beans. We've got our vegetarian beans that came in our box. We've got some green beans. These are cut green beans. And we've got some black beans. And the only reason I'm using green beans in a baked bean, which is not a normal thing, is because we have it. We have the ability to use it, so we might as well. Good food is good food, even if you put some weird ingredients in it sometimes. So as with anything, or at least with these kinds of things, you want to drain your water out. This bean water has a lot of flavor, but there's just not a whole lot we can do with it right now. So we're just going to set that to the side. Make sure our beans are nice and drained. We'll save the juice from the vegetarian beans because that looks like it's already kind of like a baked bean type of juice. Throw that in there. And we'll get rid of the juice from the green beans. This can be a messy process, so you probably want to do it over your sink. Or if you have a colander, that can make things really easy too. Okay, now that we got all of our beans in our container there, we actually have this container of pork luncheon meat. You do want to make sure to keep an eye on your noodles there. As you can see, mine are beginning to boil over. That's not what we want. So we're going to take that off the heat for just a second, give it a little swirl, and then we'll put it back on there and lower our heat. Those noodles are already almost done. And our sauce is definitely done. So we're going to go back and just finish up our baked beans real quick. See if we can get this guy to come out naturally. Oh, there it goes. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So with this luncheon meat, I know it can look a little goofy on the outside, but it actually is really tasty. So we're going to go ahead and just chop that into some squares. Careful, it's sticky. It'll get stuck to your knife. And then now that we've got our nice squares here, we're going to go ahead and just chop these squares into even smaller squares. Make sure to keep them together because this next part is where it gets fun. Now we should have little dice size, a little smaller than dice, pieces of our luncheon meat. We're going to take those, dump them into the container with our beans. And we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a pan to put them in. I'm going to use this one because it's nice and big. Now that our noodles are done, I'm going to go ahead and fill that spot for our beans, but I'm going to turn off the heat. Of course, you want to drain your noodles. An easy way to tell that your noodles are done, take a noodle, just bite right into it. If it's soft and it comes apart, see there's no white in the center, then it's done. These are al dente, and I did this for a reason, because I'm letting them sit over here and they're going to keep cooking because they're still hot. I'm going to wash my hands because I just took a bite of something. And we're going to come back over here. Now that we have our noodles out of the heat, we're going to still let our pasta cook down a little bit. In fact, to make things even more simple for ourselves, we're going to take these al dente noodles and we're going to toss them right into our sauce. Boom. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we can let those noodles cook with the sauce and get rid of that little bit of al dente that's going on in there. And it looks really tasty. So we're going to let that keep cooking down. We're going to turn our heat up just a smidgen. We have it on very low right now. We're going to go medium low now. And then we're going to take our pan for our baked beans here. We're going to get that rolling. Now this one doesn't need to be as hot, nor do we need to add any sort of oil to the bottom of it. We just take our mix that we made here of our beans. We're just toss them right in there. We're going to let that heat up a little bit. We'll come back to that later. But right now, we're going to check on our chicken. Not done yet. Have some bread, some cucumbers, some limes, some lentils, a little bit of raw turkey, some spaghetti noodles, and some peanuts. Now, don't be afraid to save some of this stuff. Some of this stuff can go to different meals, or you can recreate a meal a second time if you end up liking it a lot. For now, what I think we're going to do is we are going to make a chicken salad. All right, so we're going to grab our chicken, we're going to grab our peanuts, we're going to grab our bread, and we're going to grab our cucumber. Go back over here to our cutting board. Okay, so now we're coming back to this cucumber that we didn't use last time we cut the ends off of it. If you were going to save this and not make this meal at the same day, like I'm doing right now, you simply just put plastic wrap over either side of the cucumber, and when you take it out of the fridge, just like you would cut the ends off again. Now this is where it gets fun because you don't really have to do very much at all with this cucumber. You can cut it any way you want to. Cut it sideways, you cut it big, you can cut it small. It doesn't matter because we're going to chop it up into tiny pieces. Once our cucumber is about to this consistency, we're going to go ahead and add it into a bowl. All right, we're throwing our cucumber in the bowl. Now, cucumber is pretty wet and it likes to release a bit of water. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little tiny bit of salt here. This tiny bit of salt just helps with the osmosis to pull the water out of the cucumber and just moisten the rest of our chicken salad. Next up, we're going to take our peanuts. We're going to go ahead and just chop these really fine as well. Don't need a whole lot. Maybe a little bit more than that. Take our peanuts, chop them up. These like to fly all over the place, so be ready to make a mess. We're going to go ahead and add them into the bowl. Later peanuts. And now we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of our spices in there. Now I know we haven't added our chicken in yet, but that's kind of the last thing we really want to add in there. So we're going to do a little over a tablespoon of our onion. About the same of our garlic. Maybe a little bit extra compared to the onion. Everybody likes garlic. And then just a pinch of black pepper. This is a mighty pinch, but a pinch nonetheless. Oh, there goes our parsley. And the last thing we're going to do before we put the chicken in here is we're going to make use of one more of those limes. Cut her in half. Squeeze the juice into there. That juice is going to help it stay fresh over time, so you get a little bit more shelf life out of it. And it's got a nice zing to it. I'm going to go ahead and cut our chicken open. Add our chicken right in there. Make sure to get all the chicken out of the bag. The more chicken you have in your chicken salad, the more of a chicken salad it is. Yeah, there we go. We got it all. Okay, at this point, we're going to go back and check all the food that we're working on. You probably won't be making these all at the same time, but I am. And because I'm doing that, I'm going to check on everything all at once. Looks like our baked beans are starting to get warm. That's good. We've got our luncheon meat in there beginning to sizzle a little bit. And our spaghetti is actually finished. So here's our nice spaghetti. You can see everything in there is nice and evenly cooked. Smells good. It's probably going to taste good. At least I hope so. What we're going to do here is we're going to just let the spaghetti sit for just a minute to finish out the flavors while we grab ourselves a pair of tongs to serve it with. Yep. We're going to go ahead and serve our spaghetti here. We're going to get a bit of the pasta. That looks good. Smells good. Make sure you get some meat and stuff in there. We want a little bit of everything. Of course, it's just what makes it tasty, right? Oh yeah, there we go. And we're going to finish this with some cheese. Everybody loves cheese. Spaghetti. We've got probably 8 of these in here. I know I said there was enough pasta for 4 people, but I didn't account for the fact that we had put all of our lovely tomatoes and mushrooms and all that good stuff in there. Now for our last dish. Now I had skipped the lentils. Lentils are pretty simple to cook, and what I would have done is probably cook them with that luncheon meat. We would save about half of that. We would have taken our lentils. We're going to put them in a pot, like our tall pot that we use for the spaghetti, and they cook for 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't take a long time, but it's definitely something that you want to have time set aside for. And I would just say cook the lentils with the luncheon meat chopped up, just the same way we did it for these baked beans over here, and just let it stew for a while. You'll add some flavors and maybe some of this milk, and just that's going to be a ham and lentil soup, basically. Super simple, also really easy to just set it and forget it. All right, next up, we've got our mac and cheese. Now, we're not going to follow the recipe on the box, because who does that? That's lame. What we're going to do is we're going to make a baked mac and cheese. So we'll need to grab our soup pot again, same one we used to get our noodles for our spaghetti. I'm going to fill it up with water. You get that to a rolling boil. Take our spatula here, stir our baked beans. Those are looking good. And I chose cheddar jalapeno as an extra ingredient, actually, in the box. This is something that I picked out when I went over to pick the box up from the pantry. And I chose these because I thought that they would pair really well with these mac and cheese Cheetos here. And so we're going to go ahead and just crunch these up. Just like that. These bigger chunks you'll want to break up a little bit more, but this is kind of the consistency we're looking for. We have our sticks of butter here. We're going to take one of these sticks of butter, put it in here. We're actually going to put it in the microwave, or you can melt it however you like. It's easier if you leave it out all day. It'll just melt on its own. But because I'm in a hurry, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the microwave. All right. So we've put our butter in the microwave, or Chef Mike, for about 50 seconds there. We're going to take our Cheetos. Just make sure that they're really nice and crunched up. Again, you don't have to use the whole bag. I'm only going to use part of the bag here. Got that there. We're going to take our microwave butter, and we're going to put about half of it in there. Take our spatula. We're just going to stir that up. We are going to let this sit. The reason we're doing this before we actually make the macaroni and cheese is because we want these nice crunchy Cheetos to kind of bind together a little bit, because this is going to be the breading for our baked mac and cheese. So we're going to take this stuff. We're going to put it over here. Now, if you decide you want to serve this as baked beans, which is what it smells like right now, we're just going to go ahead and take this and just, we'll probably need a spoon. Probably be a good idea. So we'll take a little bit of this, and now you see here, I didn't neglect it to stir it, so it got a little stuck at the bottom. Anytime you're doing something with sugar in it, You want to just make sure you pay good attention to it, or else you'll get a little bit stuck to the bottom, and that's just not fun to clean. It's not burnt, it's just stuck. All right, so we've got our chili baked beans, whatever you want to call them here. Looks pretty good. Looks like you got about another 8 portions of food. This stuff is coming out to be a lot of food, so if you are a person who tends to be hungry, or if you have a family, this is going to be a great box for you. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know how to make a sandwich, but I'm going to do it for you anyway. We'll take our bread, we're going to put that on the cutting board there. Take our chicken salad. Looks pretty good. I'm going to have to use my hands again. So, get a pretty decent amount in there. Just kind of smear it on the bread. You want to make sure it spreads out. And you want about the same thickness as the bread. And this gives you a good consistency, and it's a little bit more satisfying when you eat it. And if you're fancy like me, you might put some cheese on there. Depends on whether or not you can open the bag with one hand. Let's do it. I got this, I believe in myself. There we go. All right. So, take a little cheese. Put a little cheese on there. Looking fancy, looking good. I'm going to squish that sandwich, because a good squish sandwich is a good sandwich. We wipe our hand off here so we can handle our knife. Take that, do a nice slice of rooney, and boom, chicken salad sandwich. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. Take that, I'm just going to put that on the plate for later. Oh man, I hope I'm hungry, because I'm going to have to eat all this stuff. Somebody's got to. It's time for us to take our chicken out of the oven. Oh yeah, that smells good. It's definitely done. Get ourselves some hot pans here. Grab these out. Now, I've actually cooked this chicken a little longer than I would suggest you cook it, but I just want to make absolutely sure it's done. It's been in there for about an hour. At 350 degrees, I would suggest closer to 45 minutes. But the easiest way to tell chicken, you can tell that's done because when you press on it, it's the same texture as this part of your hand. So when you push on it, when you push on this, they feel the same. That's how you know your chicken's done. And I'll prove it to you. Let's grab our fattest one. Seems to be this guy. Let's take this guy and we're just going to give him a slice. Actually, we'll just slice off the bone here. Perfect, perfect. See how that's all white on the inside? That's what you want. There's of course going to be a little bit of pink wherever there's a vein. That's something you're going to always experience with chicken. It doesn't mean it's not done. It's definitely done. Let's give it a taste to make sure we made it good. Of course, I'm a skin guy. Perfect. You got the lime, the garlic, the pepper, and the salt. It's good to go. Don't need a whole lot. Now we still have a stick of butter left. That's nice. We're going to toss our milk in here. Don't need a whole lot. Oh, probably ought to open it first. We're going to just put enough milk in there that it covers the bottom of the noodles. A little bit more. You can see the butter and the milk kind of floating in there together. And then the fun part, the cheese. We're going to use a lot of cheese. Toss a bunch of cheese in there. And then we're going to toss that back on the stove for a second. Let that warm up with the cheese and the milk and the butter. Our milk is already hot. Our cheese is already melted. We're pretty much good to go. I'm going to toss that into here. This is just a little baking pan. Looks like regular mac and cheese right now, but we're not done yet. Take our Cheeto butter stuff that we made earlier, our crust there, and just spread that over the top there. And spread it out this way and out this way. Just make sure it's kind of just like that. Looking fancy, looking good. I'm going to take our parsley. Now, the reason we're using parsley here is because it's a great garnish. It looks really pretty, and it'll get you brownie points with anybody that you cook for. Our oven is still at 350 degrees, and this will only take about 10 minutes. Stick it in the oven. Let it rip. Oh yeah, very nice. You got a little bit of browning on the Cheeto crisp on top. That's a little bit wetter than I would like it to be, but you just added too much milk. Add a little less yourself. And now, for the fun part. So how are we going to serve these meals? Well, we got 3 plates here. Let's get 3 different ways. All right, so first off, we're gonna get some salad. We'll take some, get a good little bit here. Put it on our plate. All right, that looks nice. Grab ourselves some chicken wings or chicken legs. We'll give 2 of them. That looks fun. And how about we do some spaghetti with this one? Take a little of our spaghetti. Give it a little twist-a-rooney dooney. All right, like that. And don't forget your cheese. A little bit of cheese on top. Perfect. All right, so there's one meal. All right, next up. Oh, look at that, it's solidified, how nice. I'll take a little bit of our mac and cheese bake here. Put that on the plate. Maybe a little bit more than that because I'm a little extra hungry today. I'll put that right there. Now, if you're not a big fan of oil, you can use bread to take the oil off the top. What you would do is just simply take a piece of bread from your box there, push it on top, and just pat it down a little bit. That'll take some of the oil off for you. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bit of extra butter on the side there, just like me. All right, take our chili/baked beans here. Get those right there. Oh yeah, that stuff looks good. And do a little salad on this one too. Gotta be a little healthy with all this cheese. Oh, lost one. See you later, buddy. And let's throw a little cheese on this salad. Because, you know, we're hungry and we like cheese. All right, that's meal number 2. And for meal number 3, we're gonna take our chicken salad sandwich that we made a little bit earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and sit this guy just kind of like this. A little pyramid there. Again, we're gonna use some salad. We like salad here. And if you had some Cheetos left, you'd probably put some Cheetos on this plate too. We'll give a decent amount of this salad here. And heck, let's put another couple chicken wings on this one. There you go. Your food box has now made you 3 meals that can be easily repeated. We have about 8 portions per meal, and we've got tons of it left. We can save it, we can mix and match, we can do whatever we want with all this stuff. And we've got so much. You've got your spaghetti, your chicken salad, your regular salad, your pork and beans or baked beans or whatever we want to call it, and your mac and cheese bake. So many beautiful things out of such a big box. And it's great that you can actually do this because you think that, you know, these things are difficult, but they're really not. All you got to do is use a process of elimination and say, okay, here's what I can make, and that's what I'm going to do.